time to call your lawyer.
Once again, time for our conversation with Bruce L. Scheiner, attorney for the injured. If you submitted a question recently, then there's a chance it could be answered this morning by the man we trust to answer these kinds of questions, Bruce L. Scheiner. Now, there's some things I need you to know before we get into the question specifically, and especially if it is your question. Remember, this is just general legal conversation. In order to know specifically what's going on in your case, you have to have a very specific conversation with a professional. Now, many attorneys offer free consultations. I know Bruce L. Scheiner and Associates certainly do. So you might want to take advantage of that and get that specific information that you need. In the meantime, what we can tell you for sure is that you shouldn't sign anything and you shouldn't make any statements or let anybody record any conversations until you've seen a professional. Keep that in mind as we listen to Bruce's response to today's legal brain teaser. Let's see if it's yours. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Bruce L. Scheiner, attorney for the injured. Good morning, Bruce.
Hey, good morning, Todd. How you doing?
Terrific. How about you?
I'm doing great. I wish we were on television instead of radio this morning. I got an unbelievable picture of my grandson and his parents in his Halloween costume.
Oh, what did he go as?
He went as a scuba diver, and his dad was a shark, and his mom was a fish.
That's really cute. And you're obviously a very proud grandfather, I can tell.
Yeah, very, very proud.
You're not turning into one of those people that shows pictures of the grandchild to absolutely everybody, are you?
I certainly am.
I figured as much. Well, good for you. Enjoy that little guy. You certainly deserve to.
Thank you.
Well, we've got another question this morning, and I'm hopeful you can help us out like you typically do, if that's all right.
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
All right. Here's what it says. A friend of mine was working for Avis at the airport when another driver was returning a car and in the process struck him. The Avis worker was severely injured, including breaking his hip. What should my friend do? He is being told it's just a workman's compensation claim and that he doesn't need a lawyer, which that last part would scare me if somebody told me that. But that's just me. What do you think, Bruce?
Well, of course, the first thing he needs to do is to contact a competent personal injury lawyer. He does have a workers' compensation claim, and that's to his benefit because they will pick up all his accident-related medical bills and his accident-related loss of income. But the big item here, because he was so severely injured and broke his hip, is to be able to have a lawsuit against the driver of the vehicle that caused the accident and that person's company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that driver happens to be from Avis, it would be out of luck. But in my experience, it would be a separate company that was driving and returning the cars. If that's the case, he would have his own personal injury claim against that driver and that company, and because of the severity of the injuries, he would have a very substantial claim and be entitled to substantial restitution.
Well, if I'm understanding this correctly, it sounds to me like what you're saying is that Avis, and for that matter, probably other rental agencies, use a third party, so to speak, to shuttle cars around, and that would be who you'd need to seek compensation. Okay.
You're right on point, Todd.
And that would be very difficult for a layperson to track down and do and to get answers and to get information. You've really got to turn that over to a professional, don't you?
You certainly do. In any event, you need to do that because you're dealing with these big insurance companies,
right,
who just want to pay you as little as they can.
And even just a plain old-fashioned, easy, paint-by-the-numbers workman's comp claim, if ever there was such a thing, those are pretty complicated all by themselves.
In today's world, they are.
Yeah. Well, then, hopefully, our victim here will get a hold of somebody and start getting some answers. Better to do it sooner rather than later, and I hope that they'll take our advice on that and maybe bring a little peace and comfort to them knowing that you have said, hey, listen, it does appear there is a claim here, so might as well get started.
There should be a claim.
All right, Bruce, thanks again for weighing in this week. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and you give that little guy a pat on the head for me, won't you?
I certainly will, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you again next Wednesday morning.
We are too, and hopefully somebody's question that's being sent in right now is the one that gets answered. Thank you again, Bruce, from all of us at Kicks Country 92.9. Ladies and gentlemen, come on, let's give him a nice round of applause. He's always willing to jump in and answer questions for us about the confusing aspects of the law and insurance. And, gee, I mentioned you can have your question answered next week. How do you go about that? What you do is go to our website, kickscountry929.com. Look on the homepage for Bruce L. Scheiner. If you don't see that, you can always type Bruce into the search keyword box. You'll end up at the same place. And that will give you the opportunity to send information on your situation. Send as much or as little as you like. All confidentiality is respected. You never hear names or specific details in these conversations. And then we'll see if it gets answered next week. In the meantime, if you would like to get some immediate answers, I recommend you call the office of Bruce L. Scheiner and Associates. The Port Charlotte office location is easy to find on the Tamiami Trail, southbound side of 41, about halfway between Forest, Nelson, and Midway. Phone number, call first, make an appointment, 941-743-7777. 941-743-7777. That's 941-743-7777. In the meantime, don't let anyone take away your rights. Find out how to protect yourself and your interests by calling that number and telling them that Todd Matthews sent you from Kicks Country 92.9